computer. Hello and
Let's do it
welcome,
live.
everybody. We're live. Welcome to the first ever Nod podcast. We will be discussing weaponizing your boss. In this case, our guest Douglas is unique, does not have a boss. However, he needs to weaponize commercial realtors and banksters to do his bidding. Because remember, you can go fast alone, but you'll go further together. Douglas, please tell us
Well
a bit
said.
about yourself.
Sure. I am a commercial real estate entrepreneur. My objective is to buy multi-tenant retail, basically a strip center with 5 to 7 bays, anywhere from 10 to 15,000 square feet. Probably not much bigger than that out of the gate, but definitely need investor money. And so when you say I don't have a boss, I kind of do in a sense because the investors are uh, function the same for me. So no money. What is that saying? No bucks, no Buck Rogers. So in a sense, they do function that way. So for sure, that's a different way of looking at it.
Well, this will be new for Eugene and I. Not so much. Well, yeah, kind of new for me. For Eugene too. Eugene, you know,
100%. I mean, I operate out of Thailand, so US real estate industry is foreign to me, which might be actually beneficial since I'm not going to be imparted to some of the biases that you guys have.
well, so they got real estate out there in Thailand. What are people
They
living
do.
in? What are they living in over there? Looks like you got, I see a door back there and walls. We have those here. Door, walls. I think it's
The
pretty
way
applicable.
the things operate in Thailand, you don't have to have licenses.
Oh,
There are not so many rules and regulations compared to US. Pretty
I,
much it's wild west here.
that can be advantageous, I think. You know, I know somebody from a different country. I was advising them. They were looking to buy a home, and it was very similar to the US, the process. And they told me something fascinating. They said the reason prices are so high here is because a lot of Americans are buying real estate here and flipping it. I was like, geez, this opportunist mentality, right? Is that what you are, Douglas, an opportunist?
I think that's fair to say, although it's fairly crowded space right now. I actually started out trying to buy a multifamily, and we got to the point where we didn't think the prices on multifamily made any sense for us. So we migrated into retail. We're just like, probably wouldn't do an existing multifamily. Would do ground up multifamily. I still think that's good, but existing multifamily is awfully competitive, and we're just like, well, let's go somewhere else where the competition's not quite as intense.
You know, and my concern with multifamily is somebody who leases out investment properties. If you got a multifamily with, let's say, 30 tenants, you know what you got yourself? 30 problems. Unless you got a management company.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't even know if I should say this because maybe this tenant will listen to it. I'll try to keep it. There's currently a tenant in the building. Management does not want to renew their lease. We have another unit for rent in the building. Tenant reaches out to me. Management told me we're not renewing their lease. Don't let them rent anywhere in the building. I'm like, all right. Tenant reaches out and says, hey, can I rent that unit? And I'm like, oh man, I gotta prepare an accusation audit. You know, because if you upset someone, what do they say? When somebody hates you, they act crazy out of anger quickly, more quickly than when they love you. And so being dealing with tenants can be, gotta be careful. I know of heart surgeon that got shot trying to collect back due rent from a tenant. No, he got pushed, fell, cracked his head. Yeah, these everything in life's a negotiation, right?
And so
But
there is a lot of heat happening between, there is a lot of conflict in the scenario that you explained. The whole company is against having this tenant. So that's a all-out war, you could say. And tenant for some reason want to stick in that place. It's what's the problem there? Like why this building or that building? Is it so hard to find a place to rent?
well, now it's hard to move that far away. Like if you move from one unit to another, you just drag your things, right? But if you got to move to a different building, now you got to go arrange a U-Haul, which is a moving truck. You got to go pack it yourself, move it yourself, get friends to help you. This is like a lower end building. This is not, lawyers, doctors, architects aren't living there. Maybe Uber drivers and, lower tier.
And so just to understand the context better, do people live long term? Like how long does the contract normally look like?
A year.
A year.
And then they renew you
Okay.
every year. In this case, they are not renewing her. She's been identified as difficult. And I kind of know the tenant because I placed them there 2 years ago. And so, yeah, they weren't that difficult. This is right before I got really into Black Swan stuff, like the very beginning. And I was dealing with her boss. It was weird. It was a weird dynamic. Her boss got her the place. And yeah, it's dealing with these tenants. You got to be really careful on how you behave, because especially there's some states in Illinois. I mean, in some states in the U.S., like Illinois, that is very pro-tenant. You go to court for it. You try to evict someone in a blue state, a Biden state. It's gonna take you months and money, and you gotta have everything documented when you gave them notices. It is no joke. So if anybody listening, yeah, I sell in the blue state, but when I go to buy my investment properties, commercial, yeah, I'll buy it in the blue state. You're a company, you're not making money, you're not paying, get out. If I want to own tenant buildings, I want to make sure they're in a red state. And like Grant Cardone says, you want tenants that are lawyers, doctors, attorneys, all those architects, accountants. They tend to stay longer, they pay your rent, and you can weaponize them. Grant Cardone typically turns his tenants into his own investors. They'll invest in Cardone Capital. So, talk about like triple dipping, winning nonstop. Some big kudos to Grant Cardone if you're listening. Sure, he'll be on here one day in a real jet. I mean, that guy's got
Yeah, he does. Nice Gulf Stream for sure.
Is that what he's got?
Yeah, he's got a real nice G550, I think.
He's always.
And it's kind of funny. His pilot was I was there around Big Oar Pockets when he first started going big into like multifamily, and his pilot actually became one of his acquisitions guys too. So it's really fascinating. Captain Ryan actually went to work for him on the acquisition side. So they had an interesting story there.
That gives me goosebumps. Reminds me of Warren Buffett, where he told his limo driver he is his most disappointing employee. Because out of all of his employees within 5 years, they go out and start a company. They're doing big moves. They start a podcast. I'm just kidding. And he looks at the limo driver. He goes, "Man, you're still driving for me. Like, I must not have influenced you. Like I messed up." Like, that, talk about accountability, right?
Yeah.
You're only going to come across maybe 5,000 people in your life. You may as well weaponize as many of them as possible to multiply yourself. And I think talking to a banker is no different than talking to the coffee shop barista. It's all like how you do once, how you probably do the most. That's why I love these negotiation role play scenarios. Yeah, we can change the scenarios, and we will. However, at the end of the day, how you're negotiating that scenario, you're probably negotiating other scenarios similarly. And typically what we see, and Eugene has been in so many of them. I personally been in about 200. And the biggest pattern that sticks out is people wanting it from a place of entitlement or a place of beggar. The middle ground being strategic, being able to hang in that negotiation, in that dialogue.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool because it's really like three approaches to this, like Dan mentioned. It actually can be broken down into two: is conflict or collaboration. What are you going to get? Something that you want through conflict, meaning like you're going to have this sense of entitlement, and you're just going to make out of counterpart feel submissive and horrible, but you'll get what you want. Or another side would be you begging, you kind of, you getting people into guilt trips, in an essence. So guilt trips, rage, or strategy, right? Or collaboration. So
You want to write that down? That's good. Yeah, guilt trip, rage, or collab.
And especially these days, I mean, when people are so wind up, uncertainty, change, conflicts are happening more often than ever before on the micro level. And conflicts is not necessarily that you're going to just feel horrible for the rest of the day, but you just might have this bitter aftertaste in your mouth after this conversation. So you were, in essence, left worse than you've been found. And it applies to your counterpart too. Are you making each other interactions a better space for everyone to exist, better and better space? Or is just slowly erodes into mistrust, uncertainty, doubt, all this trickery, manipulation, and so on?
Eugene, I have a question. You've had an incredible background, NLP and then EFT, and then eventually Black Swan. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And then I'm fascinated. What do you think the progress felt like having gone through that phase? How did you notice the big difference between jumping from EFT and the I guess emotional intelligence from that on into Black Swan? How did you see yourself progressing through the different phases there?
Yeah, love the question. Like, so really those are like pieces of the puzzles that eventually come together, and you can see from this prism how everything works together. So NLP it was incredible back in the days because it was like really fresh, really new. There was so many ideas floating around, so many methodologies, strategies. It was overwhelming, and that's exactly how NLP feels to me: overwhelmed. It feels like you have to retain tremendous amount of information and practice endless amount of tools to get to possible results. So you're always increasing your chances of success. And NLP just felt like overwhelmed. So that's when I found EFT. And you see what I'm saying? Overwhelm is the emotional state. It's literally this, and it gets on your physical level, it gets in your nervous system level, and then it gets into your mental system. So once I start tapping into, literally tapping into my nervous system, because you're working with the nervous system endpoints, then you could transform overwhelm, fear, doubts, uncertainty into something else, something that it's not that. Some people call it, at first it's like peace of mind, meaning that you're not stressed, but then you start blending in the sense of gratitude, compassion, and curiosity in pretty much every thing that you encounter that's having a negative impact. So from an NLP standpoint, that could be called reframing. But from the emotional states, there is something different. It feels different. It is a different shift there. So once you go, through these practices, and mock negotiations are fantastic for that, because People are different. They will trigger different moments in you, different triggers. Once you can consciously reframe those, rewire those on the nervous level system, it becomes, you become more curious naturally. So moving away from that, you're moving towards curiosity, inevitably. And when someone's triggering you, even or trying to manipulate you by using anger or frustration or guilt tripping you, it feels like you're being more curious about them. It's like, where is this coming from? Like, it seems like you're in a lot of pain right now. What's happening there?
Let me tell you a relatable story with that. I was telling you my friend, 4 hours of, let's call it FBI methodology training, being able to spot when someone's guilt tripping you, or be able to spot when somebody's raging and asserting themselves, and then being able to spot your reaction, your trigger to it. It's right there. You become curious, right? And so my friend, he didn't know. We found this out. He's an accommodator. When you get pushed to the wall, what do? Do you give them stuff? Do you fight back? Or do you say, let me think about it? He was shocked that he's like, I would give stuff. And so now that he knows this, he's at the grocery store. And there's a guy behind him. He's got like a whole shopping cart. The guy behind him's got 3 items. And he starts doing the, looking at my friend like, I only got 3, like, and then he looks over the aisles. All the registers are taken. And my friend, he notices this, right? And not only notices, and I'm sure you agree, Eugene, our heart generates within your intimate zone vibes and things. So he, being an accommodator, he's picking this up. He feels it. He feels anxiety. His first gut feel is to say, hey man, do you just want to cut in front of me? You only got 3 items. And
you really need it, yeah.
When he's like, but he's thinking it now. Now he's processing curiosity, and he goes, man, what if I let this guy through and he does a price check, and then he starts paying with a check, and I'm here for 20 minutes just because he guilt tripped me? What has he done for me? What has he done for me? Right? Just standing there, looking all entitled, doing a little fit dance and huffing and puffing and looking around. And almost got him. And that's why I think, yeah, you should get into a mock negotiation to see what triggers you. How do you react when someone's pulling guilt trip levers on you, when someone's forcing their way through? And that's, I think that right there is key.
Dan, I have a real tough question for you. I've been meaning to ask this. I just dawned on me. I meant to ask this a long time ago, but if you could, and you've had incredible, and I mean powerful results with the Black Swan method and emotional intelligence and curiosity in negotiation. If someone put a gun to your head and say, you can only use one Black Swan tool, what particular tool do you think is probably, if you had that one that you had to use and you had to pick one, what would that be?
Dynamic silence. Followed by a no-oriented question. Those 2 are, and if I can squeeze a third one, it's a label, because a label can be accusation, or it could be an asking label. But I like the first one the most. Dynamic silence. All it is just be a Buddha, sit there with the shit, right? Sit there with it. Kind of like what my friend did when that guy behind him was doing the pee dance when you get in front of you. Right? He could have asked him a no-oriented question. He could have labeled him. There was no need for that. He just stood silent, and it resolved itself to he didn't split the difference. So it's amazing. Even I get goosebumps, even just having the backbone. And I said I wouldn't curse in this podcast, and I'm not. Having the backbone That's right there a big win for a lot of folks. Is be able to just sit there with it, sit through the suckiness. That's that's tough.
And for me, to add to what Dan said, I think I would choose verbal observation of dynamic. So that would be labeling in Black Swan Group methodology. But that's what it is. It's a verbal observation of situational or emotional dynamic.
Bam! That's what I'm doing in my head when I'm in dynamic silence. I'm self-labeling, giving myself a label. In this case, my friend gave himself a label. Hopefully, it was something like, feels like I gave into guilt trips, or feels like I gave into people that are entitled. Worse, strangers that are entitled. Yeah, you labeling the situation. Well, that's genius.
And the thing about it, then, like, we can look at it from different perspectives. You could say that they are guilt tripping you, but you can also look at it from the other perspectives and say, how am I guilt tripping myself into that? What's causing that? Because you're feeling it, but for some reason you're feeling it too,
Yeah,
right? There is some sort of a triggers that
if we had someone like
for,
William, if William was there, he's admitted on recording that he's got some thing where he's not really can emotional and make those connections. Like, yeah, William would have just been standing there like, oh well, nothing, no biggie. Yeah, but to my friend, it was intense. He said he felt this like in he was like, I have to let him in. And he was like grappling with himself. He was negotiating with himself. Yeah, some other people are like, no, that's not, don't bother me. That's you, right, Douglas? Machine, half man, half machine.
Wouldn't bother me one bit.
You wouldn't know.
If anything, it really irritate me maybe a little bit. Like, what is your problem, dude?
How about you, Eugene? That would get you, wouldn't it? You're in a com duty. You would feel those emotions.
I would choose probably dynamic silence, because I know what my time worth, and I'm here first. This is my spot. You want something else, and you asking it in this manner. I just don't encourage this behavior, nor do I feed into this. So dynamic silence on all levels.
You know what? This sounds messed up, but you're kind of like a dog trainer at that point. You're training their behavior, and I say this because Vlad, another great negotiator, had a podcast with a lady that won the negotiation competition, and she comes from a field of dog training. And so I always found that fascinating. When negotiators say you need to negotiate, people aren't rational. Don't negotiate like they're rational. And so then I heard the woman that won the competition trains animals. Are we animals?
Aren't we not? Actually, that's very cool question. Like, how do you define a human being? And I think the closest one that I heard was from Ayn Rand, and she
Atlas
defined it. I
Shrugged.
think Atlas Shrugged. Yes, virtue of selfishness. She, I think, defined it as rational animal.
That's
So
fair
that's what
enough.
it is.
I think that is right.
And also, if you look a little bit deeper, right? The science says we have this reptilian brain, fight or flight response, survival. Then there is a mammalian brain, so that's probably our hearts, emotions, right? And now only fairly recent development, neocortex, reasoning, logic. So which ones are more primal? Like, which ones wants to be communicated with more? Reptilian, trust and safety, and mammalian brain. That's where your emotion, the drivers that drives everything else.
I mean, like, what's my famous saying here? Don't get furious, get curious. It's so much tougher to do than say. I get furious at least 3 times a day minimum. Sometimes if I'm not, I should, and I feel I need to. And when I really, really meditate on it, I don't do it as much. When I do, I think I realized something. That part of the brain has been with humans for way longer than the prefrontal cortex. And so most of the time when that's active, it's not just you, but your ancestors back there influencing. So now he's wondering situations like, yeah, is it my trigger or is it like in my DNA ancestral? Not big, some church guy said you can actually flip those little switches on and off. You have more control. Joel Osteen, if anybody's curious. He's on the Sirius radio, I tuned into it a few times. He's made some good points. I like that. He's made the one with the thermostat. You regulate the temperature in the room. He made another good one where be an eagle when there's pigeons, vultures coming at you. Yeah, don't acknowledge them. Don't turn around and give them a label, an oriented question, and just stay quiet and fly higher. They'll eventually not keep up and fall off. It's
No deal is better than bad deal, right? And that
no
sounds like a
deal
bad
is
deal.
yeah, gosh, I'm gonna put a mark right here on the podcast. I think everybody needs to listen to that. And that Douglas, if there's some value to get out of it, and you've heard that many a times, it's
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree more. Um, I'm fascinated, guys. Both of you, and I will say in my own experience, you guys have been doing this for a lot longer than I have. And you have experienced tremendous, and I mean epic growth from doing mock negotiations. Can tell you in the 5 months or so that I've really been dedicated to it. I've seen tremendous rapid growth by just repetition.
it makes you want to get more, doesn't it?
I'm fascinated, both of you, if you could. I'm fascinated. Why do you think so few people actually, out of the ratio of people that are in like the Never Split the Difference Facebook group, and otherwise, don't take the opportunity to do mocks?
And let's acknowledge there's about, I counted a combined 3,000 people. And on that Saturday, I mean, everybody should be available. Max, I've seen 12. Yeah, where are they? Where are they? And I wrote down the first thing, and I mentioned it, and I even mentioned in private chats, like, look, we could make the mocks real stakes, but let's not forget that when you're in a mock, you are in front of like 10 strangers. You are literally not doing a mock. Now you got to get over the barrier of public speaking, which is ranked up there, top fears, fear of heights, fear of public speaking. And so now you're asking these participants, hey, get up there on stage. You're going to be vulnerable. 10 of us, different levels, we're going to stare at you and we're going to look at your body language, the words you
Pretty
used,
much your every word,
how you used it. And we're going to give you feedback. I mean, we have to start giving AAs before some feedback because you don't want to discourage people. Like I said, bring your skill sets to the table. We just want to look at it like Play-Doh or whatever. You just want to see what you operating with and see if we can augment it, give you some lube, give you different gears. Yeah, it's frightening enough to step up to that plate in front of strangers. And some of them, I mean, then you got some folks like, hey, record it. Give me the toughest one. Man, you're special, right? Yeah, you've seen some stuff, and yeah, it's usually people that have seen stuff. Somebody's like, oh yeah, bullets fly by me. Anything after that, it's a joke. Yeah, get me uncomfortable. But then there's some people who've never experienced a form of uncomfortableness. I call them bubble boys. Been in a bubble their whole life.
Boy, and bad things happen when that bubble pops, friends.
What's I say the worst thing you can give to some kid is everything. you like the best thing you can give them is nothing. It's struggle and poverty. Because they get comfortable being uncomfortable. I know a lot of success people. Elon, everybody quotes like, "Oh, Elon slept in his factory." Yeah, it wasn't just Elon. It's also like probably 98% of your heroic entrepreneurs have probably lived off hot dogs and soups for years before their company took off. And there's many where it didn't. And now they're working for someone and now they're getting pummeled.
Tell you what, man. I've been entrepreneur for the past 10 years. There is no set salary. There is no comfort, comfortable pillow to fall back on. And it's just different mindset. You get used to this. It's for them, it's called uncertainty and overwhelm. For me, it's called uncertainty and excitement. Because I never know what's gonna come next. I'm just keep being open to whatever's flying at me. And living in a bubble is, I'm not sure if it's more comfortable per se. It's just you living in fear pretty much. Like you are afraid to grow. You're afraid to stumble and fall. You're afraid to explore. That's the fear. Uncertainty and doubt is still fear.
Yeah, and
So
I've noticed that
Hmm.
a lot of the very wealthy people, and it's a serious topic in family offices and in the culture of mega wealthy people, they have that discussion about, well, how much money should I give and when should I give? And there is a serious, if I give you everything by the time you're 18, you're never going to find out what you're good at. You're never going to know what you like, what you dislike. It's like you have no incentive. And so I think that's an incredible point. It's generally pushing yourself beyond that point of comfort. And I think that's been what's probably really great about Negotiators on Demand and the stuff that we do. You're surrounded by a crowd of people that run at that shadow in the wall. And I think that's why I've been so excited to find it.
Yeah, and it's funny talking about getting uncomfortable, and you do enough practices, you see different caricatures like Carl Jung, you see different personalities, you kind of, and then you run into my favorite are rubber walls. One just joined in, Florin, and I like them because it really allows you to go full force. Like, what can these tools really do? If you can crack a rubber wall, that's fun. And it makes conflict fun. It makes mediation fun. Anything can be a fun mediation, a fun dialogue.
yeah, the dialogue is running inside. Just think about it, guys. Whenever someone's telling you some story, you processing it. It's not only at the level of words; it's at the level of nervous system. The conscious mind is able to process like 8 bits of information. Subconscious mind can process like millions. Like there is no comparison there at all. So this all being compiled in your brain, and then you just have a small spurt of words or your analysis per se. Like, okay, so he's talking about this and that. But all of this it's sinking inside of you. So the triggers, your perceptions, your beliefs, your biases are there too. It's pretty much everything that you hear out there. So if you can actually using those tools, tap into your own psyche and prepare for negotiations internally first, when you negotiate with yourself the best possible outcome, for example, or the worst possible outcome. And if you bring this to a real negotiation, then it's just knife and day. It's the only thing that's left for you is really to explore. It is. That's it. There's nothing else.
Even the engagement part, even myself, I think was a month ago. I was in the car dreading to go into a discussion, a conversation. And I was like, I put on one of those YouTube EFT tapping videos and did a quick tapping session, brought down all that, get the gut really working. Went in there like nothing. Yeah, sometimes you get in your own way and get in the way of listening. There is one story I want to put on here. This one I shared with Doug, and I shared one of the first stories I shared with him. And it was when he told me about NLP. That's when I callously and enjoyably laughed at him and said, "That's useless, man. It's like my communication degree, right? It's yeah, the knowledge, but is it useful? Is it practical? Can you guide the butterflies with those skill sets, those tools? No, not at all. Like not at all. And I was a property manager part-time. Tough tenants again. Tenants are the worst sometimes, depending on. And look, wealthy people can be just probably worse because they get lawyers involved, right? So variety, but this one particular one, the owner wanted to be involved in the discussion of offering these tenants to leave the building. And okay, what sounds so bad about it then? What's so bad about it? Well, the tenant, unregistered felon tenant, uh, his mom was paying the rent. The mom passed away, paying the rent through like a housing program. And so now you got this guy there with an ankle monitor, means that they're in probation. They're probably for sure violent tendencies. We're supposed to bring him in the office and tell him, hey, Buckaroo, can pack your stuff up and leave. We'll give you $400. Oh yeah, yeah. We understand your mom just passed away, but we kind of need to make money here, and turn this place around. And look, I lost my mother to breast cancer, right? Like, so I'm not saying like you get what I'm going, right? Like, there's definitely empathy, sympathy, all that there. But business, though, as it goes, my counterpart, biggest Tony Robbins fanatic. So much so he can give me a discount to see Tony Robbins. He carries his book in his bag like a Bible, highlighted everything. And I remember I'm studying Black Swan methodology and FBI methodologies. I'm probably a year into it with some practice. And I'm like, for a second, I'm like, did I go down the wrong path? Should I have been on the NLP Tony Robbins? Did I just mess up here? Luckily he wants to be in the dialogue, and he's gonna handle this, and I'm gonna learn a better way than FBI methodology. I mean, Tony Robbins is Tony Robbins, bro. This guy, he was so nervous, and he wouldn't get to the point, kind of like I'm doing now, but with nervousness and yeah, when we do mocks and you're like, like, okay, yeah, you haven't been in some real negotiations. He was just fluttering, and I'm 20, 30 minutes in, I'm saying to myself, when is he gonna get to the point? When is he gonna tell them that they need to move? He's just been small talking. He's been buttering them up. When is he gonna bake them? Because the way I've been learning is you start with the bad, you give the good, and you end bad. But it's a paradox. It really matters how they feel. They want to feel respected and in control and autonomy, right? And he's doing the opposite. He's buttering them up, and I'm like, all right, he's going to deliver the bad stuff. Let's see how he does it. He looks at me, and he's 10 years older than me. I'm looking up to him, but he looks at me and he gives me that look like, I can say something. I'm like, no, man, I'm in dynamic silence. I'm learning. You know what I mean? Like, I'm watching Tony Robbins protege here. Look at the light, like, like, what are you looking at me for, bro? I'm like, I got a cheat sheet from PSG and some mocks in a negotiation practice community. What are you looking at me for, bro? I'm your employee. Right? So I'm like, all right. And I swear to myself, I swear to you, I said to myself, I'm gonna let him stop suffering. He's suffered enough. And I'm like, all right, hey. And there's another lady on the phone at this point. He's getting trashed now from 3 different sides. And I said, all right, hey guys, I'm Dan. Hey Dan. Hey, people say after talking to me, it feels like they've been hit with a bag of bricks. And I kid you not, in 2 seconds, the room erupts in laughter. Write that down, laughter. If you can get people laughing, you made them feel in control. You made them feel autonomy. I don't know. So much stuff goes on when people laugh. In India, they're like having laugh seminars and stuff. Like it's wild, right? I was not expecting that. I kind of laughed a little bit after I said, but don't laugh first. Have them laugh first, and you laugh. I seen that go wrong in mocks. Like, dude, what's so funny? I haven't laughed once. Like you're kind of, you know what I mean? They're all laughing. I dropped the AA, dynamic silence. I'm gonna give him another AA. Then I said, "Hey guys, would it be impossible if you vacated in 2 months for $500?" They're like to each other, like, "No, not at all. As a matter of fact, we want to get out of here because last year my brother got shot across the street in that yard." Black Swan. Oh, what happened? That sounds terrible. Sounds like a terrifying place to live in. And I'm working the drivers. I'm working loss aversion. What if it happens again? And they signed that form. They left after like 5 minutes with me. And now I know what Derek Gahn says. He's walked into deals that have been taken months, and he'll cinch it up in a 12-minute call. I'm like, that's not possible. No, that day I was even shocked at, and they felt respected. I wasn't trying to butter them up, straight to the point. They're like, all right, he gets me.
And then how often do you come across this situation in your day-to-day?
No, now I try to position myself. That's another thing I've been working on, is position yourself to be in better places. EFT led me to SoulLink, and there's one part of SoulLink that I like. Pasha doesn't want me teaching anybody this stuff because he feels I don't even know how to do it myself properly, and so I won't like go into the hand rub thing. But there's one part after you do the hand rub stuff, right, with the meridian points, you open your eyes and then you look around the room and you identify 5 objects in the room. Name them: microphone, light, mouse, picture frame, TV. And then you dip down into your gut feel. And that's it. And I do that when I go into new environments. And then when you dip in, you get a sense of, I didn't like anything I saw. I loved everything I saw. There's some things I want to change that I saw. And if I can do the second or the third, I try to make sure I get out of there and don't come back. Negotiate, figure out a way. Can I send someone else there? Can I delegate it? Can I do something? I don't want my soul there. It doesn't like it. That's why I think that's why it's been like I think that's been the next level progression. Like, these tools are amazing.
Isn't that interesting? And I do think, and I think it's a shame because I don't think we see near as enough females mock negotiating. I think they have an advantage and they don't realize it. And this is mainly pointing myself, definitely, but you're onto a point, Dan, that I think most females are much more intuitive and are tapped into their intuition. I would say generally males, as this is a generality, are not near as tapped into their intuition, and that is an incredible idea.
Yeah, they'll handle it with their fists. Yeah. But women will have to talk it out.
So the intuition aspect is just like you said. And so for those who kind of want to explore this more, all you do, you can call it SoulLink or traditional Chinese medicine or any other number of things. All you do is just rub your hands together like this, in a gentle motion, not like slapping it, but gently, like caressing your hands every side. Just do it maybe 10, 15 times. And then, what then explain? You stop, you close your eyes, you open your eyes, you look around your environment and find 5 items, different items. And then you feel inside of yourself, like, how does it feel being inside right now? If you repeat it 2 to 3 times, it doesn't take too much. Sometimes just 20 seconds is enough. That's how you enhance your intuition, because suddenly you're not here anymore. You're not thinking through words. You start feeling the environment. You start feeling the situation. And just like we expanded before, the conscious mind can only process like 8 bits of information. Subconscious mind, infinitely more information. So once you dive inside, and the gut feeling just tells you what needs to happen next. And then the decision that you make is not coming from the sense of doubt or reasoning. It comes from the sense of urgency, like, okay, that needs to happen. This change is the right thing to have. And then you negotiate your mental capacity to negotiate with the outside world, how you want things to be, basically.
Yeah, I catch myself negotiating in my dreams, and that's been a game changer because, hey, I'm not a big fan of dreams. You have no control at all, and now I definitely have control in my dreams. Sometimes things don't go my way. That's fine as long as I took action in the environment. It's so much better than being the thermometer, right? That's a big thing, being the thermostat in the room. Don't let others control your heat. And I'm telling you, people are testing you, especially people with big money. They think they want to give it to someone that has no backbone,
Yeah.
that's going to crumble when they raise their voice at them. Oh, he yelled at me. Good, use it to your advantage. Weaponize them.
Well, and I will say, and that's to a great point. Warren Claff, I meet with Warren Claff in a group once a week, and Warren Claff has raised literally, $2 billion, some ridiculous number. But one of the top things he says, and this is really important, and it really was like, this is so true. Neediness kills deals. So you have to have that mentality that if this deal doesn't work, I'm out of here. I'm not going to sit here and be pushed around, because what will happen is you will either make a really bad deal, or you'll just spend all this time wasting time and going chasing your tail, and then at the end left with nothing. So you have to, I agree 110%, you have to have that backbone.
Yeah, put you on the spot, Doug. Backbone. How many calls are you making?
On average, really trying to get up to about 30 to 40 a day. I'm not there yet.
Nice.
I need a good 30, 40 a day is a good number.
If let's say, which I'm not even gonna say, I know for sure it's gonna happen. This whole thing is about results. Let's say hypothetically, realistically, we reach out to you in 2 months, let's say a quarter, 3 months, to come back on this podcast. What should be different? What should you have accomplished?
I would have to say a deal under contract. I can't say that I'd close anything that quickly, because there's a long due diligence period, and it'll take a while to raise capital and all that. But a deal under contract would be a good benchmark.
And I got one for me too. In 3 months, I should have closed my first $1 million listing, which I'm getting the listing here in a week. Pumped about it. Florent just got one. You know what? That's where I should be, in working with $1 million deals and above. It's honestly less work, way more pay, way less stress. I find myself, when I'm looking at a high-end property and I slow link, I feel great. Yeah, there should be marble everywhere.
Yep.
Every home should have a 3-car garage with a Range Rover.
They really should.
Multifamily, yeah. Look at all the rent roll this $1 million property is gonna bring. I feel good about that. Yeah, that's what it's really selfish. It's like Ayn Rand, right? If we each individually take care of our needs, there's no need for me to take care of your needs. Now, of course, yeah, you should put a little 10% to the side so you can help anybody. How about you, Eugene? Another challenge for me in 3 months. I should have done one podcast with a big name, a big influencer. I want to have somebody here with over, 20,000, 40,000 followers, something big. Might even be thinking small. Who knows? And then another one, I'm ADHD, so I can have multiple things going on. The last one is same boat as Douglas is in. I'm personally trying to buy a business. And then maybe another, combine them and either take them public, sell them to an investor group or something. Business generates the money. and you grab the money and you put it in real estate. I think to me that's. How about you, Eugene? You got anything should expect from
Oh
you
yeah, I mean,
in 3
so
months?
much. In 3 months.
And Florian, type it in
Yeah.
chat.
So
Oh wait, I hate to cut you off. 30 to 40 call a day. It's not too much. Isn't based on quantity more than quality more than quantity.
And that includes dials, not necessary may not be conversations, but at least that's my numbers on the outbound calls. Actual conversations may be a fraction of that, maybe 5 or 10 conversations at most.
And Florian, type in your goal for the next quarter. Something we can follow up on you with. Eugene, what's brewing?
yeah, so I've been in digital marketing space for the past 5 years, and I'm kind of want to move away from that a little bit. Since we're so passionate about communications, I want to jump into the sales and negotiations. So, and what I was doing for the past few months, really, so once I made a decision to jump into sales, I got into the training programs, and I wanted to find who are the best salespeople out there to learn from. Already knowing Black Swan Group methodologies, already knowing what empathy-based communication, is, and after practicing hundreds of the smoke negotiations, what is sales framework is all about? Who do I learn from? So I came across this gentleman. His name is Jeremy Miner, who was voted top 50 salesman for multiple years in the network marketing industry. So top 50 among like, I don't know, 100,000, I think 150,000 people out there who's doing this. And he has his own framework. So I dived into the sales and I was like, okay, well, how do I use my connections in digital marketing agency to fuel my passions and dreams? And I started reaching out to those guys who are very successful in digital marketing agency space, and just kind of like, well, guys, what are the chances for us to potentially help you out with the sales? That was pretty much my message. And I had like 4 or 5 responses. And one guy's just said, well, let's have a mock role plays to see where you're at with your sales skills. Perfect. That's what we do here, right? Mock negotiations. So we've gone through this, and there was like, oh, okay, that's really cool. We can potentially work together. And they give me access to the training platform, 10K per year training platform with all the daily coachings, with all the resources available there. I was like, oh, fantastic. By the way, you guys need some help with sales? That became a side thing. And there was one gentleman who was specializing in coaching space. He's a International Coaching Federation master coach, which was fairly new to me. And it's a big industry out there. So I have a master coach who's wanting to build the marketing program and sales aspect. And it's coaching. Hey, what are we doing here? Mock negotiations, right? Coaching. Perfect. What can I learn from you guys, right? And, I realized that he's not ready yet, so he's still building up his offer. And at that stage, the engagement that we had in mind, it just didn't work well. So I gave him some space. But the thing is, he offered me like his coaching session, which is $500 per hour as a master coach. So that is something it's just once you're exploring opportunities in front of you, if you're not attached to the outcome and just exploring, just like we are right now, things just
Eugene and I
tend to happen.
Are in 2 different battles with 7th level. He's over there getting everything handed over to him, and Douglas knows. Well, I'm in getting Facebook Messenger getting closed on. He's closing in on me. He's coming right here. He got me. He's giving me with the pain points. Well, what happens if you don't do anything? That's gonna take a while to get to your goal. Like, yeah, I see you.
I see you.
I see you. I like it.
No, I agree, and thank you, Eugene, for introducing those guys to us, because I am really like blown away by their approach. I think they're on to the elite level of questioning, and their approach, I think, is like top notch. I'm excited to know more about it.
Yeah, it's blends beautifully with empathy-based communications. Now we're basically practicing calibrated questions on steroids within the framework, specific dialogue framework. Another cool thing, like dialogue framework. Like you have specifics and like conflict, for example, there should be a conflict resolution framework that we could easily implement just by going through hundreds and hundreds of mock negotiation practices. Like in general, that would be starting with AA, followed by no-oriented question, dynamic silence, and then just label summary, and you continue down that path.
You got to start with the no-oriented question. To me, it's critical to make sure I got the space for 20, 30 minutes. This is probably the only time I didn't jump in with a no-oriented question to Eugene. But most people, I'd say just about everybody, even if it's a scheduled Zoom meeting, hey, is this a bad time for us to do this? Yeah, because I want to know. Like maybe they'll reveal something that I didn't know. Oh, my kids. Oh, now I know they got kids. Okay, now I know XYZ. Eliciting. I'm always trying to elicit info. Yeah, I always got to start with no, because I need to make sure the space is held for us, right? You give them the illusion of control. That to me is critical. Yeah, AAs. Yeah, that's a must. That's like the Matrix. You got to disarm the gun before they even shoot the bullets out. Why even try it? That's the problem with objection handling. When I catch myself objection handling, I'm dodging bullets. I don't want to dodge bullets. I don't got time for that. I don't care. I'm gonna just disarm the gun. Hey, you probably think I'm just a slimy salesperson. Something. We love collecting those AAs. And it's almost for me, I'm a very spiritual dude. In AA, it's like I call it humble myself. Let me humble myself. Not let me put them above me so they can like crush me. More in a sense of, hey, look, I have flaws. What are yours?
Yeah, so again, it's tapping into intuition in a sense, because you're using your intuition to create accusation audit, to put emotional dynamic, situational dynamic to the conscious level. When it becomes a part of intuition, when it becomes a part of trust and communication, and if you're wrong, people will correct you, but you still, you get the score because you consciously trying to understand the other person, and they feel it. So they feel heard and felt. Now is the time to get to the understood part. So 3 basic needs: heard, felt, and understood.
There was a mock I did, and the guy gave not the one with Shoda and Eugene, the one you saw. This was a different successful mock. It was the guy said, I gave in to him because I felt he saw me. I asked him for his advice on a situation, and yeah, he felt seen, and that right there, you're exchanging some form of value. That's why it's like when I do the coffee shop scenario, and this is so funny, and this is why I love keeping the coffee shop, is I'm explaining the scenario. They're like, okay. Then I say, you don't have your wallet. Got it in the car. What? Yeah, buddy. Now we're gonna see. That's why people are like, hey, you should tell me the scenarios before we do them. And I go, well, yeah. If I do that, then you're gonna prepare. You're gonna listen to repeat. You're gonna listen to react. Just it's just surprise. Surprise, man. Yeah, it's man. But when I say that you forgot your wallet,
Oh.
everything like, and it's like, yeah, you know what? Like, maybe you lack humbleness. Maybe you've never been without money. You've never had a struggle, and now I'm put you in an uncomfortable situation. Yeah, I don't like the scenario, because I never forget my wallet, or I don't like asking things for free. That's the one I hear a lot. I hear it from other negotiators. I'm not going to say a name. I'm not going to say the name. Don't they get uncomfortable when a negotiation involves money. And I don't think it's just them. I think it's a lot of people. And so that's why I like the well, even the pawn shop has money involved. Even the airline one kind of has money involved. And I think maybe I want to create one where there's no money involved to encourage more. But it's still fascinating that as soon as you tell them you don't have your wallet, you start seeing people come up with excuses. Oh, I didn't know the scenario, or I don't deal good with money stuff. I don't like asking for things if I don't have something to give back. You say, okay, so you like splitting the difference. Just say it. Just say it and go home. All right. But of course, you want to stick around. Yeah. People read the book. I'm not going to split the difference. They get on a mock, quickly splitting that difference to relieve that awkwardness.
Boy, and I will say, the never split the difference was probably the biggest example of me. The distance between the book knowledge and the practical knowledge, I'm talking Grand Canyon, baby, because I've been blown away at how long it's taken to actually get some sense of what the actual, from like reading it and being like, oh my God, that's an amazing book, putting it down and never getting anywhere, to actually implementing. I was just like, it's been really boggling.
Yeah. You get thrown in that pool. I drowned in it when I first got thrown in, and yeah, it's all right. And speaking of, I just got a message from my backstage crew. They're saying wrap up the show, Darth. Wrap up the show. Luke has to go save an empire, and Doug's got to get in his leer. Florin's getting ready to have breakfast. Gotta wrap this bad boy up. My parting message is, if you read Never Split the Difference or any of those books, Ego Authority, it doesn't mean anything if you're not implementing or trying it in real life at least 60 times per tactic. What's your parting words, Eugene? For
I have
Yeah,
a
I mean-
subscribers. Oh, Florin, please.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I have a question. Sometimes I have the feeling with AA, I'm putting that idea to their mind. Like an
Yeah.
example, how do I avoid that?
You know what? I heard that explained by the best guy ever, Derek Gaunt, explained it best. He's like, he's an example, Florin. Florin, this is so terrible. You're probably gonna think I'm gonna commit suicide. All right, now, because I said it, does that mean your counterpart is automatically gonna go, I never thought about suicide until you just said it. I think I'm gonna go do suicide. Like, no, that's not, just because you said it, that doesn't mean your counterpart is gonna automatically want to do that or something. It's, yeah, ideally you want to use the AA to call out the elephant in the room. And for me, the most concerning thing about an AA is when they say yes, because it should be like a no-oriented AA. The best one I heard was the guy who owns a company told his clients, "You probably think we're incompetent." Client, yeah, we've been thinking that. It's like, oh, what do you now? That's where it's a concern, right? Yeah, you learned something. Yeah, Florin, go hard with the AAs.
I mean, sometimes I'm going to customers before I say, look, you have to pay this fee, and on top of that, you have to pay another fee and everything else. And I'll say something like, you'll probably think that I went crazy or I'm completely out of my mind. A small dynamic silence, and then I said, look, this is my offer, and da da da, you know?
See, the second part, you took it to you. This is my offer.
Or this is the offer.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
gotta
know.
be more neutral about it. It's tough. It's you don't have a team, it's just you. Yeah, right there's where that's where the mess up was. So make it
All
about
right.
Yeah, you can
them.
also say, You can also say, can I explain you how it would help you if appropriate? And you just insert whatever you're helping them to do.
See, I don't even like explaining. That's just too logic. But you know, Eugene's the light side. Hey, you know, if I gotta explain this, you don't trust me. No, I trust you. All right, that's it. They're like, yeah, you know, I don't trust you. I wouldn't either. I'm a slimy salesperson. Oh my gosh. Yeah, dude, I'm the worst. I do anything to put money in my pocket. Can I put some in mine too? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, we're gonna wrap this up officially, and then Florent Douglas, stay on for the after party. Got drinks, we got desserts. It's gonna be great. Eugene, parting
Strippers are
words.
coming too.
Eugene and Douglas, parting words for for our subscribers.
For
right,
me,
Douglas, yeah.
go ahead. No, okay. I was just going to say, guys, if you're at all interested in this, I cannot stress enough, and massive kudos to Dan for inviting me to the mock on Never Split the Difference Facebook group. Invited me down a path of exploration and excitement that I can't even describe what I've picked up along the way. Don't think about the fear or the embarrassment. Think about what you're going to get if you do these mocks, and if you take the journey. I promise it'll be worth it.
Yeah, guys, and all the details to how to get in touch with Douglas, Daniel, and myself will be in the video description below. Also, information how to get to the practice sessions will be available there too. So if you really want to become better at communications, I mean, there is no better practices out there. And at the moment, it's still free. It's still available. I'm not sure how long it's going to be this way. But if you really want to increase and supercharge your negotiation skill set, communication skill set, come over to the practice sessions.
Alrighty. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.